Welcome again, everyone, to the Curacel Insurance and AI podcast. I have an exciting guest with me in the house today. His name is Jafar Elamah. I'll let him introduce himself very shortly. And then I'm really hoping we have a really amazing conversation today because this is one person I do enjoy talking to off the radar. Over to you, Jafar. Would you like to introduce yourself to our community today?
Okay, thanks, Jafar. My name is Jafar Elamah. I currently work with Cornerstone Insurance PLC as the head digitization and project. And my work revolves around when the heart of the digital transformation, head of digital transformation for the organization, that revolves around customer experience, improving processes, driving business growth and innovation as well. Thank you.
Awesome. So we're going to learn a lot of things about, how innovation and digital transformation is moving the insurance industry forward today. But before we get into it, I'm Abdul Jabbar Momo, VP of Commercial here at Curacel, and I'll be your host for today. Again, Curacel, for those of us who are engaging with us for the first time, we are the leading AI solution providers for insurance businesses, especially in emerging markets. All right, without further ado, Jafar, I know you've given us high level what you do as of today, but would you tell us a bit about your journey? I'm sure you didn't just, appear in the role of head of digitization and projects. It must have been a long and tedious journey, right? So tell us a bit about your journey. How did you end up in insurance? It would be good to learn a thing or two from that.
Okay, great. So it's actually a decade and 3 years experience in the insurance industry. So my earlier career started in banking, commercial banking, and international banking before I moved into insurance. So at the point when I moved to insurance, let's put it this way, that insurance lacked innovation. Unlike what we are seeing now, back then, even those that are trying to innovate, they still use recharge cards to sell insurance. So at that point in time, I looked at it that, okay, whilst I'm new to the industry, trying to learn, there's also opportunity for innovation. And that's when I started as the admin of the digital platform we had back then, very new in insurance. So I had to learn from the grassroots of insurance while looking at what technology can do. So it's been an interesting journey. When we started at first, we were the trailblazer, the first insurance company to offer a digital platform where you can buy insurance end to end, not where you start from the online platform, then you now complete it offline. Everything is done 5-6 minutes. So yes, it came with all the accolades as well, but it was a tedious journey because you have to keep you're learning from both sides. While you're learning from technology, what use cases you can apply to insurance. You're also learning from insurance because the innovation aspect that I was involved in was more of customer facing, and it's just like you being like a digital platform of the insurance company you work with. So everything has to be really critic as well, unlike when you're just providing innovation, so innovative solutions for back-end processes. So across the line, then I kept rising in my career to the point where I got to where the digital transformation at. And I'm sure it's probably because of the success stories in different innovative projects that we've had in the past and the success stories. So, and like I keep saying, it's a journey. No one has actually gotten to their peak point in digital transformation. You just have digital maturity, milestones to reach, and you can now tap yourself at the back. Say, okay, I've achieved this particular milestone. There's more to do. So that's been the interesting journey I've had in a composite insurance company like Cornerstone Insurance PLC.
Interesting. So, in your job, you're basically solving problems with technology and automation, right? I believe a lot of that comes from, just trying to see what is happening in the world today. How does this tie to my business use cases, or what fires am I trying to quench? How could we be more cost effective and all of that? What would you say are the most common challenges? From 10 years ago, when you first started running a digital platform end to end, to where technology is now, a lot must have happened. There would have been a lot of, transformation that has happened between then and now. From where you currently sit today, what would you say are the most common challenges you're still seeing in the insurance value chain? Where are the pipelines broken, and technology could possibly help fix in those areas.
Okay, great question, and thanks again for having me here on this podcast. Sorry, I missed that out in the beginning.
Always a
So
pleasure
yeah,
talking.
so you're looking at what problems you are trying to solve. So for insurance now, you're looking at probably like a digital sales channel where you want to help the company in terms of distribution to maybe direct customers, the agents need a sales tool, or the insurance brokers as well, or the partners. So you need to have that digital sales channel to automate all the manual processes that involves you buying insurance. Ideally, if you walk into an insurance company, it takes maybe a day or a couple of hours to buy a policy. But those are areas that you now look at that, okay, this manual process, how can we automate it for it to be done in maybe 5 minutes? Then there's the advanced version of it that you're looking at. Okay, while you're automating that process, there's still a back end process. How do you get to automate it as well? That's when the likes of APIs now help in that aspect, whereby you're automating not just the sales portal, but also the back end, where maybe you have like 3 to 5 people doing different tasks, maybe like customer service, underwriting, finance, every task they need to do, which take maybe like hours. Everything can
Yeah.
be done within seconds with API. So solving the distribution channel is one of them. Then you also look at claims, an interesting aspect, because what I keep telling people is claims the way you know that you're benefiting from insurance is when an insurance company settles your claim. There's the general business and there's life business. For life business, you're most likely saving your money, like an investment policy, and at maturity, if nothing happens to the insured, the person doesn't die, then he or she gets his money with interest. But for a
Yeah.
general business, when you're insuring your car, your assets, and the like, if nothing happens in the year, you think maybe you just throw your money out to insurance. So the claims aspect is also very key. While you're looking at onboarding, the underwriting, but claims is also very key, and there are a lot of problems in claims, in how I put it, processing claims from the time it takes to processing it, and from the submission rather to the resolution. There's a lot of challenges in that area which you now focus on. That okay, automation will also be key, not just for distribution, underwriting, but also for claims.
Awesome. So, I mean, you did mention like supporting the user journey, right? By just ensuring your like API first with distribution, allowing for that digital flow of information from both the front end to the back end, and just enabling all of those things to happen in real time and real fast. But I think another interesting use case we have also been seeing today from our conversations is even going beyond APIs, right? Again, some insurers have cracked this whole distribution, API integrations, plugging into different channels, and trying to be also very digital. But we're seeing the rise for things like AI-powered chatbots, right? So versus having, let's say, an experience center or a website where people go to, people are now looking at what channels do our customers really engage in as of today. Let's take WhatsApp, for example, right? And how can we have a full-blown agent that could sit on WhatsApp, and process things for you, this customer is like a human being. So you want to buy a policy, how do we walk you through that journey, right? Do you want to file a claim? How do we assist you in that journey? And all of those. So I was just thinking loudly, AI applications, how does artificial intelligence take this to the next level to sort of like, meet with the current demands of users, taking these products or whatever to meet them at the places where they are currently interacting, where they're comfortable, and even beyond even customer service, like the chats and the interactions of what your agents would typically do. What other applications of artificial intelligence are you even seeing that are practical for the insurance industry today?
Okay, so when it comes to innovation such as AI, we should be thankful for the availability of internet, because that has actually made so many people to test most of all these Gen AI, the ChatGPT and the likes, that people play with them. So at some point in time, why people are looking at it like a tool to solve some problems. Then you now have innovators that are looking at, okay, what use cases can it solve? Because there are problems within that you need it to solve. So like you rightfully mentioned, Gen AI type of chatbot, I think that's the advanced chatbot, not the knowledge-based chatbot that people are being using right now, they're adopting right now. So it's been very helpful, like you mentioned, for onboarding, for renewals, for claims, for validation as well, for verification. Because you know how it is, we're still human, so you might we don't want to fall in the hands of the wrong people. So let me put it that way. So, but you don't want people selling fake insurance to you because we know how it is. You're bringing hard-earned money to buy a policy that you're trying to mitigate your risk. Then you find out someone just sold you paper. So with the
Wow.
Gen AI chatbot, you can actually validate if this policy is genuine or not. And also something we're working with is also like a library within a knowledge-based library called you have sales team on the field trying to close transactions. At some point in time, they need to reach out to the technical team to verify that, okay, can I do this? Can I not do that? And what can
Yeah.
I offer these customers and the like? The Gen AI can start as that technical team. So the sales agent can chat with that Gen AI chatbot on WhatsApp and whatever he or she wants to ask the bot, because the bot has been trained with the data set to equip it to answer those questions. It now serves like an internal library for the sales team to close out transactions quickly. Then another innovation in AI is also robotic process automation, which is kind of like my best RPA. You have people in the operations team running on repetitive tasks. So you have the aspect of robotic process automation that can actually automate those processes. There are different types of RPAs which you can actually watch what that person is doing and at some point in time pick it up and do it seamlessly. So I always see AI as like a digital workforce. Let's say you have 5 members in a team, you now have the sixth person being a digital workforce, not like the AI coming in to eliminate all of them. So everybody is supposed to get acquainted with that sixth team member and how they can also derive some form of information from each other. So that's the way I say it.
I like the way you called your AI agent the sixth team member. It's like there was a conversation around people being worried that AI is going to come and take people's jobs, and other advocates were like, no, AI is not exactly going to take people's jobs. Who are the people writing these models? Who are the people doing this prompt engineering? In fact, all sorts of new emerging job opportunities are also popping up because of this new technology. It's just like 10 years ago, if you said you were an influencer, what does that even mean, right? But as of today, because of social media, that has also created opportunities, in the non-corporate sectors for other people. So there is actually a theory or narrative. I mean, it's clear. We've seen several technological evolutions, right? So AI would create about new opportunities, and it's those who do not catch up with the times that would get left behind. So if you're working in the insurance space, please get acquainted with your sixth, 10th, 20th team member who may be your AI agent. Let's keep with the technological trends. All right, thank you again very much, Jafar, so far. I wanted to also ask a little bit around, so we've talked a bit about distribution, interacting with the customer, and just making their lives easier. But you did mention something earlier, right? Again, some people go hard with automation when it comes to selling policies and make anything that would increase revenue. But we also see they may not be as aggressive when it comes to the claims bit, because that is where money is going out of the pocket of the insurance business, right? Um, but of course, that is where you also want to build trust with your customers in this journey. That is where the tire actually hits the road. So could you share a bit more around, how technology, automations, your robotic process automations, or even artificial intelligence is improving some of your work around claims, right? I mean, thinking about the fact that claims is a cost center, but it's also very vital to your customer experience. How are you prioritizing this? How are you, solving some of the key problems? Maybe you could highlight a few of the challenges you see. Tell us about how, you're thinking or executing automation and artificial intelligence in solving issues around claims, right? And maybe we could pick a thing or two from you from there.
Okay, like you rightfully said, the claims aspect, it's not really like insurance companies they shy off it, but the focus, let me just say some of the insurance company focus is how they get the how will I put it, how they can provide a smooth journey for onboarding. But the
Yeah.
claims aspect, they now look at it that probably because the awareness on innovation for claims isn't really as loud as onboarding, but with the likes of you guys in Curacel, you've done a fantastic job. So I think that awareness is not even coming to people. So now let me now go back to the challenges. So I'll just mention a few challenges. So one of them is complexity and volume.
Okay.
Complexity and volume. There's fraud detection. There's customer expectation. There's data management. So let me go back to the first complexity and volume. You have large number of claims which have different complexity that you need to treat or let's say even verify. And as insurance companies looking at growing their retail, you're looking at more people, unlike maybe the corporate arm that you have, maybe you brought in X amount of money premium in, and the customer base might just be two customers or three customers they give you. When you're looking at retail, you're looking at millions of customers. So you don't have the workforce to cater for that large volume. So those are one of the challenges. Then fraud detection as well. That's something that every insurance company they wear like extra goggles to find out that okay, who is trying to defraud us. Yeah, they're trying to find out who is trying to defraud us. So that you being able to identify a fraudulent claim and prevent it, that's a challenge. Then customer expectation, like I mentioned, the internet is helping so much in innovation. So the needs of customers keeps increasing. So if you're running you're an insurance company and your process is still very lengthy and there's no transparency, as especially in the area of claims, then that's a problem. That it takes maybe weeks to pay claims and there's no transparency that maybe Jabbar now you bought a policy from me and you keep calling me if you have a claim and I'll tell you that okay Jabbar, don't worry, let me get back to you. The team I'm trying to get in touch with, they're also busy. And Jabbar, you call me again, I'll tell you that okay, don't worry, sorry, I'll give you feedback in the next 1 hour. So that's one major that's a bottleneck. Then
Yes.
data management. Yeah, data management is also another area that in order to make proper decisions, you need to have data. You need to be able to analyze data. Like, okay, Jabba has been insuring with us for maybe 10 years. Then all of a sudden, you buy a new car. We're trying to find out, okay, has Jabba's portfolio been good or not? You need a set of people that will be running through reports, start going through it to find out, okay, what's his claim ratio? So those are some of the challenges that insurance company they face on a day to day without the without applying automation.
In fact, I was gonna jump into like trust and accuracy, but before I even do that, right? It was very interesting you talked about like data analysis because it's one thing to automate, right? And then when you automate things, maybe like even fraud detection, which obviously we're very great at Curacel, all that data, all those intelligence over time becomes a foundation for what we are now looking at as predictive analytics, right? We've seen some of the very innovative insurance companies already talking about how do we leverage telematics, not just in motor insurance, but even things like health, to understand, to get more data, usage patterns, behavioral patterns from our customers, and how do we combine this with all this data we have, right, to start making sense and becoming more innovative around like product creation, marketing, personalization, and even rewarding customers and incentivizing them for good behavior, right? And that is really very interesting. And I'm beginning to even feel like, this is obviously where the future is, right? Because once we have all this automation, we've really made everything, straight through process easy. The next step is how do we leverage all of this, for even higher intelligence to grow the business. So really thank you for that insight. So let's go back to trust and accuracy. On the issue of trust and accuracy, again, there is regulations coming up around AI. People are still trying to understand, okay, the technology, what frameworks, what limitations and risks does it pose, and all of that, right? But even on the consumer side, or even on the insurer side, there is the issue around like trust. So people have been doing this thing for 10 years, 30 years, they're experienced, they know everywhere to look. But then technology comes in, and we're supposed to just expect a machine to handle most of what these people were doing, right? How are we sure, especially for insurers who are very risk averse? In fact, you're in the risk business, so everything is always risk, risk, risk. So looking at how sensitive you are to, on issues around risk as an insurance business, how do you manage the issue of trust versus accuracy with these systems as of today? Because that is a concern I've seen that both operators have, and even customers. They're worried their customers may have, right? When the claim is rejected, for example, and the customer knows that there was some sort of AI who is vetting this claim for them, would that be an issue? At what level should we disclose? Let's just talk about like trust, transparency, and reliability of this kind of systems. What's your experience so far?
Okay, well, to be honest, like you said, we're risk adverse in insurance industry, so there's still some form of test that's still going on to see that okay, how accurate is the result that the AI provides or the automation provides. So there's always this solution evaluation phase that you now compare. There's how I put it, a pre and post implementation study to find out that okay, in this area, how effective has this automation been in claims, and that's where you have every stakeholder being involved, both the underwriters and most especially the claims team. They evaluate it to see that okay, how accurate it is before they can now trust it. So, like we said, there's still always a human element to AI as well in
Absolutely.
automation.
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
quality
it has to
assurance.
be there. Quality assurance still has to be there. Like you rightly said, the prompt engineering is we human beings that we come up with it. So you can't just fully close your eyes and sleep off and tell me that okay, the AI review. There's still some set of people that still evaluate to say okay, how accurate it is. And as it keeps evolving, technology keeps evolving as well. Such tasks will still continue to evolve. That you need to do those maintenance checks.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Of course, we cannot totally eliminate humans from this group, but I guess the whole idea is just to make your team 10x better, right? So if you had 50 people doing this job in 5 months, you could typically have that done in a matter of days or hours. With just them acting as a sort of like quality stop or quality check, and ensuring consistencies. Of course, that is even important in building like the confidence, as well as even ensuring that these systems are up to date. Are getting feedback loops to continuously improve and serve your business needs. Now that makes absolute sense. So I mean, I was going to touch a little bit, around ROI before we go, because again, technology costs money, right? Technology costs money. And every business executive, like myself, yourself, is always concerned about how does this impact my bottom line? How much am I spending? How much am I expecting in return? And when am I expecting that return, right? So how do you go about ROI, in terms of some of this automation, investments, in technology and all of that? Because I have met executives who've told me personally, conferences, events, or even in our sales engagements, that, my issue is tracking returns clearly. We've invested in a bunch of new solutions, technology suites, but I'm finding it difficult to translate how that impacts my business. So what would be some of your tips, and best practices for us in measuring ROI?
Okay, so like you said, executives, CFOs, CEOs, and the like that, and that's one journey that you guys have to like get together when you're starting any innovative project. So to me, even start from the beginning, the business case, when you're trying to explain one of the innovations, because innovation is either comes in as a demand or an opportunity. If it's a demand, it's coming from the top. and they'll tell you that okay, they need this to be done. But when it's an opportunity, it's harder when you need to convince them to stay, and that's where ROI comes in. So there are some areas which we can talk about, like metrics in terms of what to measure. So key metrics I look at when let's even bring it down to claims automation or the claims part. So you look at processing speed one, then the error rate, then you look at customer satisfaction as well, because processing speed, like a typical customer doesn't need to know maybe it takes 10 departments to solve a claim from submission to resolution. They just want to know that, okay, when there's a need and I reach out to you, the insurance company, how quick can you put me back in the situation I was before? So that's where
Turnaround.
processing speed, turnaround time, that's where it comes into picture. Then long-term benefits as well, which has to do with cost saving. Cost savings to see that, okay, with this automation, with this solution that we've deployed, how much have we saved? Because remember, I started from the beginning that, okay, with the, what's it called, complexity and volume, that
Yeah.
you have maybe like in an insurance company, you have maybe 20 people that manages the claim for the insurance company. So the
Yeah.
current that particular year, the customer base was maybe 5,000. Then things went well that particular year. They now doubled the amount and it's now 10,000. You can't keep increasing the number of people in that claims department because at some point, how will you meet up? There's a cost element that goes into it. So by the time you apply AI automation in it, you can still maintain that same workforce if you choose to, and that's where the digital workforce comes into place. That okay, you're using the same set of people to address this set of customers. We've seen it in the banking industry, and that's why we're also applying the same thing in insurance. That you apply that technology, and at the long run, initially it might look expensive, but on the long run, you now look at okay, the forecast that you would have saved X amount of money than hiring this number of people to be able to improve on this particular process.
Mm. I mean, so scaling lean and efficient in a lean and efficient manner. What would you say is an ideal timeline for ROI for you to break even, for example, on buying a new solution? People take average, like what do you think is a comfortable timeline?
Hmm. So it depends on the project, to be honest. So different projects have different expectations.
Of course.
So let me just say maybe 3 years, 3 to 4 years. Let me put it 3 to 4 years. But like I said, it depends on the project, what the transformative project is all about. But let's
Yeah.
just say 3 years, you get to see that okay from the forecast that at this particular year would have saved X amount of money. And you briefly mentioned STP, that's straight through processing. That actually goes a long way, which is similar to the claims process I mentioned. That you have a bunch of people that are supposed to process maybe a particular task, and by the time you apply AI or automation as well, they can cater for a large number of customers. Same people, same staff strength, rather than you increasing the staff strength. So that's another area where you can easily measure it. Okay, in maybe this next year was our customer base has increased. HR is supposed to come up with okay cost to hire more people, but you won't see that cost because the technology is already catering for what those new people they're supposed to do.
At a fraction of the cost, I presume.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, this would be my last question before we kind of like go into wrapping it up. Looking ahead now, we always like to look into the future at Curacel. Where do you, where would you place your bet on, that transformation would really go a long way right now with the insurance value chain? And if there's that one thing that may seem like rocket science or wishful thinking today, you really wish to see some innovation in that direction, what would it be for you?
Well, whilst I commend Curacel, because like I mentioned, among your peers in the market, so to say, you guys really focus on claims, which is an important aspect of insurance. Another futuristic use case that Curacel can actually focus on, since they've actually added so much value in terms of the claims automations and the like, is having drones to assess risk in areas where it might take weeks or days for human beings to actually get there. So once the drones just fly around those places, it can actually detect the damages, do the assessment, and send it in real time to the insurance company. So that's something I saw recently, one of the foreign insurtech companies, which they've done and has actually helped. Because the company was actually set up to solve these problems. Because how will I put it? There's a limit to what insurance companies can do. There's a budget to which we can innovate. So, but that's why we have the insurtech companies like yourselves that you can all look at it. That, okay, maybe it's something that you guys might bring into the market in 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years time, but it's just something to consider. The using drone to access damages in areas where it might take people days or weeks to get there.
I hear you, and I totally agree. In fact, this are some futuristic things we do discuss in the business. We have also had interactions with a few stakeholders across the industry who have mentioned use cases like this. Inspecting properties beyond motor vehicles to like maybe buildings, right? And even farmlands, and things of that nature. Uh, I think my greatest limitation is, this kind of things may be a bit ahead of their time, especially in a market like yours for Nigeria, for example. If we were to have a solution like this today, what do you think the demand for it would be? Is this something you think uptake would be immediate or would take time? Because that's also another thing, right? Market readiness for the adoption of this kind of solutions, considering how much it costs to procure a drone, before you now even go into all the capturing and AI elements, to use all those computer vision details to start running assessments. I reckon it would be expensive to come up with something like that. So maybe we could talk, to wrap it up, a bit around like market appetite for technology, right? I mean, what would you say the appetite is for the Nigerian insurance industry, for example, and how do you see that trend evolving, over the next 3 to 5 years? Let's look midterm.
Okay, so to me, I believe the need is actually increasing to the way it used to be. And like I said, with 13 years in short tech experience I've had, the rate of innovation from early years and now has changed drastically, especially from COVID. COVID actually made so many things change. Everybody focusing on digital transformation. How can they sell their products and services digitally? Then the other aspect of claims as well is very key. So the adoption might not be as much as you would think, but if you give it time, there are some insurance companies that we give them an edge because there's some areas that you need to go and sell your insurance policies to. Or the other risk aspect, like we're always risk conscious that okay, if a claim occurs, how can we get there to um, solve it? Yeah, so you'll be shocked that some insurance companies will be the key drivers and others ideally will now follow suit and look at it. Okay, in order for us to penetrate in that market, we need to be able to adopt this solution at the point of if a claim occurs, what can we do about it?
Yeah.
So it will definitely get there, but not as quick as you would think. But if you give it some time,
Yeah, not
it's
as
well.
quick as we would like, but yeah, it does make absolute sense. I mean, yeah, it's inevitable that the future is headed in that direction. I mean, this could be useful to things like the oil rigs, the manufacturing plants, usually situated in remote areas close to natural resources, and all of that, which I also reckon makes some of the big checks for the guys like you. So maybe you would be interested in investing in some sort of technology like this. But I mean, great chat having you here today. Before I let you go, I would really love to know if you have one very tangible advice for insurance professionals and operators today, what would it be? It could be anything.
Okay, so I took KSS with our team. That's knowledge sharing session, and one of the topics that we always still talk about is innovate or die, or innovate or fade away. That's the thing. So the customer's expectation demand is increasing, and insurance is not something that most people will look at because they look at the when you mention insurance, they look at the complexity, the cost, so many things that revolves around it. So innovation is actually very key for every insurance company. And like you rightfully said, as much as you want to measure the ROI, it's still always good to innovate so you can actually meet up the customer's demand. And we can always add to increasing the GDP in the country as well with that. Thank you.
Right. Thank you again very much, Jafar Elamah. It has been a great conversation. I personally have also learned, a thing or two from you today. So I really do appreciate that. You helped me meet my daily knowledge quota, from just a simple conversation. So, ladies, gentlemen, viewers, if you would like to reach Jafar and take the conversation forward, you can reach Jafar in any of the links below in the video, preferably maybe LinkedIn or email. But yeah, if you feel like you've learned something today, please leave a comment, leave your thoughts on the comment section for us. We'd love to engage. Let us know what other topics or areas around insurance and technology you would like us to talk about. And of course, Jafar is always very happy, to have conversations around this area. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions, need a mentor, in insurance technology, he's your guy. And please do not forget to hit the subscribe button. Until the next episode, I guess I'll see you around. Cheers.